Greetings, everyone. I am Anime Octopus, and you have tuned into a space dedicated to dissecting the mechanics and possibilities of the multiverse. The theory, ninjutsu meets the black leg. Today, we dive into a tactical crossover that redefines high-speed combat. We are exploring the lethal potential of a single question: what if Naruko Uzumaki combined her vast chakra reserves with the black leg style? By fusing the kinetic intensity of Sanji's signature martial art with the elemental and physical enhancements of chakra, we aren't just looking at a power-up, we are looking at a complete shift in the shinobi meta. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's get into the breakdown. A bright giggle echoed through the sun-dappled glade of a forest nestled within the heart of the Land of Fire. High above, a swirling sphere of shimmering wind, nearly 10 feet wide, danced gracefully through the air. It sent a shower of fallen leaves spinning into a joyful whirlwind before finally fading into a gentle breeze. A young girl with bright, golden pigtails and sparkling blue eyes stared at the spot where her creation had been, her face glowing with wonder. A wide, proud grin spread across Naruko's face. She let out a tired but happy cheer, holding her slightly tingling arm close to her chest. She had done it. Collapsing onto the soft, emerald moss, she watched the fluffy white clouds drift lazily across the sky. Her heart fluttered with excitement. She knew her teacher might give her a stern look for using so much energy at once, but she was too happy to care. She couldn't wait to share her success with him. Now, she just needed the perfect, most magical name for her new discovery. There you are, Master Toad. I've been waiting forever for you to get back. The legendary sage, Jiraiya, blinked in surprise as he stepped into the cozy room they were sharing. His student, Naruko, was standing right in the center of the room, her hands tucked firmly on her hips and the biggest, most radiant smile he had ever seen lighting up her face. Usually, she greeted him with a playful scolding if he spent too much time at the library or the tea house, so this sunny welcome made him tilt his head in curiosity. "You won't believe what I managed to do during my practice today," Naruko exclaimed, bouncing on her toes like a happy little bird. Jiraiya relaxed, seeing how much joy was radiating from the young girl. He was about to ask how her morning had gone, but Naruko was far too excited to wait. "I made a brand new technique," she said, looking up at him with eyes that shimmered like clear blue sapphires. Jiraiya raised his eyebrows, hiding his surprise beneath his headband. He knew Naruko was talented, but creating something entirely new was a big task for such a young adventurer. However, seeing the pure pride in her expression, he decided to follow her lead. "And what kind of wonderful technique are we talking about?" Jiraiya asked, leaning down to listen. Naruko's smile grew even wider. "I call it wind release, shimmering star spin." She paused for a moment, waiting for his reaction, her whole spirit practically sparkling at the name she had chosen. "A shimmering star?" Jiraiya repeated with a warm chuckle. Naruko nodded enthusiastically and grabbed his sleeve, gently pulling him toward the door. "Yes. Come on, I have to show you. It's like the wind is dancing, Master Toad. It's the coolest thing ever, trust me." Amused by her energy, Jiraiya followed her out. He suspected it might be a clever way to make her training more colorful, especially since she had been so focused on her wind spinning exercises lately. She had mastered the basic swirling spheres much faster than he had expected, turning a difficult task into something that looked like second nature to her. When they finally reached the clearing Naruko had been using as her secret training spot, the sage stopped in his tracks. The area was covered in a neat circle of swirled leaves, and the ground was swept remarkably clean, as if a gentle giant had been playing there. "Okay. Watch closely and tell me what you think," Naruko said. She took a deep breath and concentrated. With a quick motion, she called upon her inner energy to create two friendly helpers, her shadow clones. One clone appeared perfectly, stretching her arms and ready to help. The second one, however, looked a little bit sleepy. Its colors were a bit pale, and it wobbled on its feet, mumbling something about wanting a snack. Naruko and her first clone stared at the tired little helper, which soon vanished in a soft poof of white smoke. "Oh dear, that was silly," Naruko giggled, shaking her head. She tried once more, and this time, two bright and energetic clones appeared beside her. The three Narukos stood in a circle, their hands meeting in the center. They began to gather the wind, humming a low, steady tune as the air started to glow with a soft, pale light. Jiraiya watched intently, noticing that they were working very hard to keep the wind steady and kind. "Naruko, remember to stay balanced," Jiraiya started to say, his voice full of gentle guidance. But in that moment, the wind took on a life of its own. It didn't stay in a sphere. Instead, It began to spin like a giant, soft top. The shimmering star spin grew larger and fluffier, looking more like a giant ball of wool made of breezes than a star. A sudden gust of wind caught the edges of Naruko's cloak. Realizing the technique was becoming a bit too bouncy, Jiraiya stepped forward to help. The wind didn't crash or boom. Instead, it gave a soft, whistling sigh and turned into a giant, invisible bubble. Because Naruko had put so much heart and happiness into it, the technique didn't cause trouble. Instead, it gently lifted Naruko right off her feet. The shimmering star spin carried the laughing girl upward for a few inches, swirling around her like a protective, breezy hug before it finally tickled her nose and vanished into a cloud of sparkling glitter-like light. Naruko landed softly back on the moss, her pigtails a bit messy but her heart full of joy. "I think," Naruko said, catching her breath while Jiraiya laughed warmly, "I might need a little more practice on the landing." Naruko struggled to open her eyes, feeling as though they were heavy with sleep. After a moment of effort, she managed to flutter them open and found herself gazing at a warm, wooden ceiling. It took her a second to realize she was in a cozy room at the local inn. Her eyes felt a bit dry, so she tried to raise her hands to rub them, but her limbs felt strangely sluggish. Her brow furrowed as she realized how heavy her body felt. She could wiggle her toes and the fingers on her left hand, but her right arm seemed to be taking a long nap of its own. Before she could worry, she heard the soft thud of wooden sandals clicking against the floor. A familiar, tall figure with long, silver hair stepped into her view. It was the great sage, her kind mentor. "Naruko. You are finally awake," he exclaimed, his face softening with a relieved smile. "I was beginning to think you were planning to sleep through the whole week." Naruko tried to ask what had happened, but her voice came out as a small, dry cough. The sage quickly handed her a glass of cool water, gently helping her take a sip before he spoke again. "That new technique you were practicing was very powerful, Naruko," he explained gently. "It was like trying to hold a sunbeam in your hand. The energy was too much all at once, and it dazzled your inner spark." The memories began to return to her like colorful snapshots. She remembered the bright golden light of her practice session and the sudden, overwhelming glow. The sage looked at her with great care, choosing his words thoughtfully. "The energy from that light moved through your spirit in a way we did not expect," he whispered. "You are safe and healthy, Naruko, but your inner ninja energy needs a very long rest. It means you won't be able to use traditional ninja skills for a long time, perhaps ever again." Naruko felt a wave of quiet shock wash over her. She closed her eyes and drifted back into a deep, peaceful sleep to process the news. A few days later, Naruko sat up in bed, looking at her hands. She felt much stronger now, and she could move her right arm perfectly fine. The sage was sitting nearby, busily writing in one of his famous travel journals, documenting the beautiful sights they had seen on their journey. "I am sorry, Sage-sensei," Naruko said softly, breaking the long silence. The sage looked up from his writing, surprised. "What are you sorry for, Naruko? If anything, I should have guided your practice more closely to ensure you stayed within your limits. But I was the one who wanted to try the biggest glow possible." Naruko replied with a small sigh. "I should have listened when you told me to take it slow." The sage set his pen down and walked over to sit by her side. "We both learned something important. How about we agree that we are a team, and we will move forward together?" Naruko nodded solemnly. She looked out the window at the blue sky, but then a shadow of doubt crossed her face. "If I cannot use ninja skills, how can I ever become the leader of our village? How can I be the Hokage?" The sage looked at his student with immense pride. "Being a leader isn't just about flashy skills, Naruko. It is about your heart, your kindness, and how you care for others. There are many ways to lead and many ways to be a hero. You could be a great teacher, a wonderful chef, or even a writer who inspires the whole world." Naruko listened, but her eyes filled with tears as she thought of her friends back home. "But what about Sasuke? I promised I would help him find his way back to our village. I was training so hard so I could be the one to bring him home." The sage reached out and gave Naruko a warm, comforting hug. She leaned into his shoulder, feeling the strength and kindness of her mentor. "You aren't alone in this, Naruko," he reminded her gently. "Your friends, Sakura, Lee, and all the others, are also working hard. They care about Sasuke just as much as you do. Maybe this is a time to trust your friends to share the weight of that promise." "But he is my best friend," Naruko whispered, wiping a tear away. "I wanted to be the one to show him that he is never alone." "And you still can," the sage said firmly. "You can show him that through your letters, through your voice, and through the fact that you never give up on him, no matter what path you are walking. Your spirit is your greatest strength, Naruko, and no amount of lost energy can ever change that." Naruko took a deep breath and looked at her mentor. She realized that while her journey might look different now, it was far from over. She had a heart full of courage, and with her friends and the sage by her side, she knew she would find a brand new way to shine. Master Jiraiya stood near the door, adjusting his heavy scroll. I am truly sorry to leave you alone, Naruko, but I really must get this manuscript to my publisher. If I do not deliver it today, we shall have a very difficult time finding our next warm meal or a cozy place to stay. Naruko sat by the window, her bright blonde pigtails catching the morning light. She watched the clouds drift lazily across the sky. It is all right, she said softly, offering a small, reassuring smile. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the steady rhythm of the town outside. She waited until the rhythmic clack-clack of her mentor's wooden sandals faded into the distance. Once the sound had vanished completely, Naruko stood up with a newfound energy. She watched from the window as the tall, white-haired man turned a corner and disappeared from sight. Quickly and quietly, she moved toward the closet. She pulled out a sturdy orange backpack and a neatly folded piece of paper. She placed the paper on the center of the low table, right where the sunlight hit it, making sure it was the first thing anyone would see upon entering the room. For a heartbeat, Naruko hesitated. She knew Jiraiya had been working tirelessly to make her feel at home during their travels. She could see the kindness in his eyes and the way he always made sure she had the largest portion of soup at dinner. A small pang of worry brushed her heart, but her determination was stronger. She had a special mission to complete, one that would make him very proud. When the great sage arrived back at the inn, his heart was light. He had successfully delivered his work and had even stopped at a local bakery to buy a fresh, steaming loaf of honey bread as a surprise for Naruko. As he stepped through the door, his eyes immediately fell upon the white slip of paper resting on the table. The bag of bread remained held in his hand, forgotten for a moment, as he realized the room was silent. Naruko was gone. With a steady hand, he unfolded the letter. His eyes softened as he began to read the neat, bubbly handwriting of his student. Dear Master Jiraiya, please do not be worried. I saw how hard you were working on your stories, and I wanted to help you find a truly magical ending for your next book. I heard the local children talking about the meadow of whispering bells just outside of town. They say that when the wind blows, the flowers sing songs of old legends. I have gone there to listen to the songs and bring back the best ideas just for you. I have my map, my cloak, and plenty of crackers. I will be back before the sun sets behind the mountains. You always take care of me, so I wanted to do something wonderful for you. Love, Naruko. Jiraiya let out a long, relieved breath that turned into a warm chuckle. He looked out the window toward the rolling green hills in the distance. He did not feel worried anymore. Instead, he felt a deep sense of pride. Naruko was not just a student, she was a girl with a heart as bright as the sun, always looking for ways to bring a little more magic into the world. He set the honey bread down on the table and reached for his traveling cloak. He decided he would walk toward the meadow to meet her, perhaps bringing a jar of cold juice to share while they listened to the singing flowers together. It was going to be a beautiful afternoon. Hi, Uro-senin. I'm leaving. Not in a scary way, just going somewhere new for a while. I kept telling myself everything would be fine if I stayed, but my heart feels too heavy right now. I tried to be brave like Rock Lee, who works hard no matter what, but I'm still figuring things out. I don't feel ready to walk back into Konoha like this. I know it might seem like I'm running away, and maybe I am a little. But I think I need to find myself again, who I am, what I can do, and how I can smile without forcing it. If the QB is still inside me, then that's part of me too. I don't fully understand it yet, but I want to. I don't want to be someone people fear, I want to be someone who brings warmth, like the sun. So I'm going to travel for a while. I'll learn, grow, and come back stronger in my own way. Goodbye for now. Naruko. P.S. I left my headband and Tsunade Ba-chan's necklace on the table. Please return them to her. Tell her I'm sorry, but also tell her I haven't given up, I'm just taking a different path to reach my dream. And please tell everyone else I'll be okay. Dash. The room was quiet, as if even the air didn't want to disturb the moment. The letter rested gently on the desk, its words still echoing in everyone's hearts. Tsunade held the necklace carefully, her fingers trembling just a little. She closed her eyes, remembering Naruko's bright grin and endless determination. That girl, she murmured softly, though there was a small, proud smile hidden beneath her worry. Jiraiya stood nearby, arms crossed, looking thoughtful instead of his usual carefree self. She's stronger than she thinks, he said quietly. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take a step away to find your own road. Sakura wiped her eyes but straightened her posture. She'll come back, she said firmly. And when she does, she'll be shining even brighter. Kakashi gave a gentle nod, his visible eye calm and reassuring. She always does. Shizune hugged Tauntaun a little closer, the little piglet snuffling softly. Even in the silence, there was a shared understanding, Naruko wasn't gone forever. She was just on a journey. Far away, under a sky painted with soft evening colors, Naruko walked along a quiet seaside village. Her stomach rumbled loudly. Okay, I hear you, she muttered, placing her hands over it. Food first, dreams later. She had been traveling for 2 weeks now, and though it had been tiring, it was also exciting. She had seen sparkling oceans, listened to new stories, and even learned how to tie simple knots on a fishing boat. It wasn't ninja training, but it was something. Still, hunger was a stubborn companion. Just as she was wondering what to do, a gentle voice called out, "Are you all right, dear?" Naruko looked up to see a woman standing in a doorway, her expression kind and warm. "I'm fine," Naruko said quickly, though her stomach disagreed with a loud growl. The woman chuckled softly. "You sound like you could use a meal. Would you like to join us for dinner?" Naruko blinked in surprise. "Really? You mean it?" "Of course," the woman replied, stepping aside. "There's always room for one more at the table." Naruko hesitated for only a second before stepping inside. "Thank you," she said, her voice sincere. The house was filled with laughter and gentle chatter. A small family welcomed her as if she had always belonged there. They shared stories, passed dishes around, and listened as Naruko talked about her travels, with a few exaggerated moments that made everyone laugh. For the first time in days, Naruko felt something light and warm bloom inside her chest. Maybe her journey wouldn't be so lonely after all. As the night settled in and stars began to twinkle outside, Naruko looked up at the sky through the window. "I'll come back someday," she whispered softly. "Stronger, happier. And still me." And with that quiet promise, her adventure truly began. "Sakura?" The young girl looked up from the scrolls she was carefully organizing and saw her teacher, Kakashi, standing nearby with a gentle expression. She blinked in surprise, wondering how she hadn't heard him enter the room. "What is it, Kakashi-sensei?" she asked, smoothing out a piece of parchment. She knew he moved with the quiet grace of a master, but she had been quite lost in her thoughts. Sakura continued her work, making sure every scroll was in its proper place. The Hokage had been so busy with her duties lately that Sakura wanted to do everything she could to help. It was a lot of responsibility, but Sakura took pride in being helpful to the village leader. "Sakura?" Kakashi placed a kind hand on her shoulder. He looked at her with a soft gaze, noticing her distraction. Sakura realized she had paused mid-motion, her mind drifting away again. "I am sorry. I was just thinking about everything," she said, offering a small smile as she focused back on her teacher. "I asked if you would like to help me tidy up Naruko's apartment," Kakashi repeated gently. "The Hokage thinks it is a good idea to keep things neat and safe. Even though we all hope she returns soon, we want her home to be ready for her." Sakura looked at the floor for a moment, thinking of her bright, energetic friend. She decided the paperwork could wait for a little while and nodded her agreement. Together, the two set off toward their friend's home. A month had passed since Naruko had set out on her journey to see the world. A kind family in a peaceful village had welcomed her into their home, treating her like a daughter. They had mentioned a local shopkeeper who was looking for someone to help him with his daily chores. Naruko didn't need much, but she thought it would be wonderful to have a way to help the community. Naruko was currently walking through the bright, sunlit streets of the village. She was becoming familiar with the friendly neighbors and the colorful flower boxes in the windows. She looked for the antique shop the family had described and soon found a charming little store with a wooden sign. When Naruko stepped inside, she was greeted by the pleasant scent of old wood and sweet jasmine. The shop was a wonderland of interesting things. There were shimmering glass vases, hand-painted pots, and ancient maps hanging on the walls. Beautiful clocks ticked softly in the background, and polished wooden carvings rested on the shelves. It felt like a place where every object had a story to tell. As she looked around, she noticed someone lying on a rug near a shelf. Her heart skipped a beat, and she rushed over to see if the person was all right. She knelt down and saw an elderly man with a peaceful look on his face. She listened closely and soon heard a rhythmic, whistling sound. The man was simply having a very deep nap. Naruko leaned back, a playful smile appearing on her face as the man let out a particularly loud snore that made a little dust puff up from the rug. "Time to wake up, sir," she said in a clear, bright voice. The old man jumped up with surprising energy, nearly tumbling over before finding his balance. "What? Is the parade starting? He exclaimed, looking around with wide eyes. He then spotted Naruko and chuckled, adjusting his glasses. Did you wake me up from my best dream, young lady? Naruko laughed softly. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. The man beamed at her. He was quite short with silver hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief. So, what brings a bright spirit like you into my dusty old shop? He asked. He looked at Naruko's sturdy boots and her orange and black outfit, which was a bit dusty from her travels but still bright. I heard you might need some help around here, Naruko answered helpfully. The old man looked at her and then at a heavy crate of books nearby. It is true, my back isn't as strong as it used to be for the heavy lifting. Do you think you can handle moving some of these treasures? Naruko gave him a confident grin. I am stronger than I look. The man laughed and held out a hand. You have the job. My name is Ryuga. Naruko shook his hand firmly. She had decided to use a different name while traveling to keep her journey simple and quiet. She wanted to be known for her hard work rather than her past. It is nice to meet you, Mr. Ryuga. My name is Suri. Back in the village of Konoha, Sakura sighed as she finished her afternoon training. She had been working very hard to improve her skills, and she felt a sense of accomplishment, even though she missed her friends. As she walked through the familiar streets, she accidentally bumped into someone. She looked up to see Hinata, who looked a bit sad. Sakura's heart went out to her immediately. She knew exactly why Hinata was feeling down. Hinata? Are you all right? Sakura asked, reaching out to steady her friend. am okay, Sakura, Hinata whispered, her voice soft. I miss Naruko very much. Sakura nodded understandingly and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I miss her too. But Naruko is strong and brave. I know she is out there making people smile. Sakura took Hinata's hand and gave it a supportive squeeze. Come on. Let's go get some warm ramen. It always makes things feel a little bit brighter. The two girls walked together toward the ramen shop, finding comfort in their friendship and the hope that they would see their friend again soon. A new beginning for Naruko. 3 months had passed since Naruko first began her journey. After spending a few weeks tidying dusty shelves and organizing colorful boxes in various villages, she eventually found a place to stay with a kind shopkeeper named Ryuga. Ryuga was a gentle soul who often drifted off into peaceful naps at his desk. Since he lived alone, Naruko took it upon herself to look after the shop and ensure everything ran smoothly. She had even taken on a secret name, Saki, to keep her identity a mystery while she traveled. She had grown quite fond of her new name, though she sometimes forgot to answer to it, leading Ryuga to give her a knowing, playful smile. Life as a resident of the village. Naruko quickly adapted to living like a normal girl. In this quiet place, no one knew about the powerful spirit tucked away inside her. She felt a wonderful sense of freedom, being able to chat with the neighbors and share stories without anyone looking at her with anything but kindness. To keep her secret safe, Naruko had come up with clever ways to change her appearance. She used a bit of light makeup to hide the whisker-like marks on her cheeks. She let her bright blonde hair grow longer, styling it in a way that looked very different from her old self. She traded her bright orange clothes for a soft, sea-green tunic that matched the color of the nearby hills. Saki, could you help me move this box of trinkets? Ryuga asked one afternoon, waking up from a quick nap. With a cheerful nod, Naruko lifted the box easily. Are you doing all right, Naruko? Ryuga asked softly. He sometimes used her real name when they were alone, showing he cared for her deeply. I am, Naruko replied, looking out the window at the drifting clouds. Deep down, she still worried about the mysterious travelers who might be looking for her, but here in the quiet shop, she felt safe and cared for. The mysterious visitor. It took another 6 months for Naruko to feel truly at home. She wasn't quite as loud as she used to be, but her bright spirit had returned. She was even promoted to be the shop's main assistant, helping customers find the perfect treasures. One sunny afternoon, a tall, mysterious traveler entered the shop. He wore a long cloak and had a very serious expression. Naruko felt a flutter of nervousness in her heart. She recognized him as a traveler from her old home. Is there something I can help you find? Ryuga asked, stepping forward with a welcoming smile. The traveler looked toward Naruko. Sensing that he might be looking for her, she felt a moment of worry. Ryuga, sensing the tension, accidentally tripped over a stack of old maps. As he tumbled toward a display of ancient scrolls, Naruko rushed forward to catch him. A magical accident. In the rush, Naruko's hand brushed against a shimmering golden scroll that had fallen from the top shelf. The moment her fingers touched the parchment, it began to glow with a brilliant, warm light. Wait! The traveler called out, reaching toward the light, but it was too late. The scroll had a magic all its own. The room filled with a sparkling mist that smelled like salt air and sunshine. Naruko felt a gentle pulling sensation, like a soft breeze lifting her off her feet. The shop faded away, replaced by a beautiful, swirling blue light that felt as cozy as a warm blanket. The wonders of the North Blue. When Naruko opened her eyes, she was no longer in the antique shop. Instead, she was sitting on a beach of shimmering white sand. The air was fresh and salty, and a vast, sparkling ocean stretched out before her as far as she could see. She wandered into a nearby town where the streets were filled with the happy sounds of a busy harbor. People were selling fresh fruit and colorful fish at bright stalls. She soon learned that she was in a place called the North Blue, a world far across the sea from where she started. A new passion. While sitting by the docks, wondering what to do next, a friendly chef with a round, happy face approached her. "You look like you've come a long way, little one," he said kindly. "We could use some help in the kitchen of our ship, the Orbit. Would you like to join us?" Naruko's eyes brightened. She followed the chef onto a grand ship and began her new life. She discovered that she had a natural talent for cooking wonderful meals. She loved the way the right spices could make people smile and feel at home. As the months went by, Naruko heard stories of a legendary place called the All Blue, a magical part of the ocean where every kind of fish lived together in harmony. It became her new dream to find it. The girl who was once a lonely ninja had found a brand new path. Naruko was now a talented young chef, sailing across the wide, beautiful ocean with a heart full of hope and a stomach full of delicious recipes. The name Saki became her official title on the sea, and she was happier than she had ever been before. A sudden shift in the new world. Sanji blinked, the silver-haired man's words echoing in the strange, misty clearing. The transition from the sunny deck of the Thousand Sunny to this quiet, orange-hued forest felt like a dream. He looked down at his small hands and the bright fabric of his outfit. Before he could process the change, a whirlwind of energy blurred past the silver-haired man. "Don't listen to them." A bright, melodic voice chirped. From behind a large oak tree stepped a young girl with sun-kissed hair tied into two high, bouncy pigtails. She wore a vibrant orange and black tracksuit that matched the colors Sanji was currently wearing. On her cheeks were three faint, whisker-like marks that gave her a playful, fox-like appearance. "I'm Naruko," she announced with a wide, toothy grin that rivaled Luffy's in its pure radiance. "And you look like you're having a very confusing afternoon." "The girl who chased dreams." Naruko stepped forward, her blue eyes sparkling with kindness. She didn't look disappointed or angry, she looked like she was ready to go on an adventure. With a flick of her wrist, the misty figures of Sakura and the silver-haired man dissolved into harmless flower petals that drifted away on a gentle breeze. "This island has a way of playing tricks on your memories," Naruko explained, tilting her head. "It shows you things that make your heart heavy, but my job is to make sure everyone stays cheerful. Dreams are supposed to be happy, right?" Sanji, still finding his bearings in this smaller form, felt the tension leave his shoulders. There was something undeniably comforting about Naruko's presence. She didn't carry the weight of the new world or the worries of the sea. She carried a sense of endless possibility. A wholesome challenge. Naruko reached into a small pouch at her hip and pulled out a scroll. "Since you're a cook," she said, her eyes lighting up, "how about we have a friendly competition? I bet I can find the best forest berries for a fruit salad before you can find the perfect spot for a picnic." She didn't wait for an answer. With a giggle and a burst of speed, she darted into the brush. "Last one to the big waterfall has to wash the dishes," she called back over her shoulder. Sanji couldn't help but smile. Her energy was infectious, reminding him of why he loved his crew so much. He adjusted the headband on his forehead, the one Naruko seemed to have a matching version of, and took off after her. The spirit of the forest. As they ran through the lush greenery, Naruko showed him the wonders of the island. She pointed out glowing blue lilies that hummed a soft tune when the wind blew. Friendly squirrels with oversized tails that shared their nuts. Transparent butterflies that changed color based on the person's mood. Naruko moved through the forest with the grace of a leaf on the wind. She wasn't just a ninja, she was a guardian of joy. Whenever Sanji felt a flicker of the old disappointment the shadows had tried to instill in him, Naruko would crack a joke or perform a funny somersault, clearing the clouds from his mind. A new friendship. They reached the waterfall just as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold. Naruko was already there, sitting on a flat rock with a basket full of shimmering berries. "You're pretty fast for a chef," she praised, patting the spot next to her. They sat together in the peaceful twilight. Naruko shared her berries, which tasted like sunshine and honey. She spoke of her own dreams, not of battles, but of becoming a leader who made sure every person in her village had a warm bowl of soup and a reason to smile. Everyone has a light inside them, Naruko said softly, looking at the stars beginning to peek through the canopy. Sometimes we just need a friend to help us find the match to light it. Sanji realized then that this wasn't a nightmare or a trick. It was a reminder. Whether he was a tall cook on a pirate ship or a small boy in an orange suit, his purpose was to nourish others, not just their bellies, but their spirits. As the world around him began to fade back into the smell of campfire smoke and the sound of the sea, the last thing he saw was Naruko waving goodbye, her bright orange jacket a beacon of warmth in the deepening woods. He knew that even in the new world, as long as there were people like Naruko chasing their dreams, everything would be alright. The sun beamed brightly over the sparkling blue ocean as the Straw Hat crew set off on their new adventure. After a morning filled with laughter and a hearty breakfast, the group split up to explore the lush, mysterious island they had discovered. Deep within the emerald forest, a golden light suddenly shimmered between the ancient trees. A young girl with bright, sun-kissed hair tied into two bouncy pigtails skipped into a clearing. Her name was Naruko, and she wore a vibrant orange cloak that fluttered behind her like a butterfly's wings. She had a wide, joyful smile and eyes that sparkled with the spirit of kindness. Naruko was not from this island, but she loved exploring new places to make new friends. In her hand, she carried a small, handmade basket filled with glowing moonberries she had found near a waterfall. I hope I find someone to share these with. Naruko chirped, her voice as clear as a bell. Nearby, the rustle of bushes caught her attention. Sanji, Zoro, and little Chopper stepped into the clearing. They were busy looking for supplies, but they stopped in their tracks when they saw the cheerful girl standing amidst the wildflowers. "Hello there," Naruko called out, waving a friendly hand. She didn't see them as strangers, but as potential playmates. "Are you all explorers too? This island is full of the most wonderful things." Chopper, always curious, stepped forward with his blue nose twitching. "I'm Chopper. We are traveling the seas." "Who are you?" "I'm Naruko," she replied with a giggle, reaching into her basket. "I was just gathering these berries. They taste like sunshine and honey. Would you like some?" Sanji, moved by the girl's polite and generous nature, bowed slightly. "That is very kind of you, Naruko. We would be honored." Even Zoro, who usually kept to himself, gave a small, respectful nod. There was something about Naruko's energy that made the forest feel even brighter. She sat down on a mossy log and shared her harvest, telling them stories of the friendly forest spirits she had met and the beautiful songs the wind whistled through the canyons. Naruko's imagination was endless. She spoke of a world where everyone helped one another and where every challenge could be solved with a steady heart and a helping hand. The pirates listened, enchanted by her perspective. For a moment, the worries of their journey faded away, replaced by the simple magic of a new friendship. As the afternoon shadows began to lengthen, Naruko stood up and dusted off her cloak. "I have to head back to my village now, but I am so glad I met you. Remember, the best part of any map is the friends you find along the way." With a final, energetic wave, Naruko skipped back into the glowing woods. The trio watched her go, feeling inspired by her bravery and her bright, golden spirit. "She's quite a spark, isn't she?" Sanji remarked, a genuine smile on his face. "The bravest girl I've ever met," Chopper agreed, clutching a glowing berry. They headed back toward the Thousand Sunny, carrying not just supplies, but the heartwarming memory of Naruko, the girl who traveled with the sun in her heart. "What do you think Naruko's village looks like deep within the forest?" The cloaked stranger shifted his gaze toward Zoro, but before he could respond, a brilliant flash of golden light illuminated the entire beach. The air, which had felt heavy and cold moments ago, suddenly filled with a warmth like a summer afternoon. From the center of the light, a young girl with bright, sun-kissed hair tied into two high pigtails stepped forward. She wore a vibrant orange outfit that stood out against the evening shadows, and her blue eyes sparkled with a determined but kind energy. The arrival of Naruko. "Hey! You shouldn't be bothering people on their vacation," she announced, her voice clear and full of cheer. The stranger in the mask paused, his single eye widening. "You? How did you find this place? And why do you look so different?" Naruko let out a bright laugh, crossing her arms over her chest. She had a confidence that seemed to make the very shadows retreat. "My name is Naruko, and I'm here to make sure everyone stays safe. I've been traveling across the seas to spread a little more light, and it looks like I got here just in time." A change in the air. The Straw Hat crew watched in awe. The malice they had felt earlier wasn't just being fought, it was being washed away. Naruko turned to Sanji and gave him a big, reassuring thumbs up. "Don't you worry, Mr. Cook. Nobody is taking anyone anywhere today. Not while I'm around. The stranger growled, stepping toward her. You think a few bright lights can stop the Akatsuki? Naruko didn't reach for a weapon. Instead, she held out her hand, and a swirling sphere of pure, gentle blue energy began to form in her palm. It didn't look like a weapon of destruction. It looked like a miniature galaxy, spinning with perfect harmony. It's not just light, Naruko said softly. It's the power of never giving up on your friends. That's my way. The power of kindness. As the stranger tried to vanish again, Naruko moved with a speed that exceeded even Luffy's expectations. She didn't strike the man. Instead, she placed her glowing palm against the ground. A wave of calming energy rippled through the sand, creating a barrier of light that gently pushed the masked man back toward his boat. This island is for friends and campfires, Naruko declared, her pigtails fluttering in the breeze. If you aren't here to be kind, then you'll find there's no place for you to stand. The stranger realized his dark influence was completely neutralized by her presence. Realizing he was outmatched by her sheer positivity and spirit, he stepped back into the shadows of the trees. This isn't over, he muttered, though his voice lacked its previous edge. I hope the next time we meet, you've found something to smile about. Naruko called out after him, waving one last time as he disappeared. A new friend for the crew. The tension snapped instantly. Luffy was the first to react, his eyes turning into giant stars. Sugoi. You're amazing. Are you a golden ninja? Do you want to eat meat with us? Naruko giggled, the whiskers like marks on her cheeks crinkling as she smiled. She looked at the diverse group of pirates, the swordsman, the navigator, the doctor, and the cook who was finally breathing a sigh of relief. I'd love to, Naruko said, her stomach giving a small, hungry growl that made everyone laugh. I'm Naruko, and I think we're going to be great friends. Do any of you know how to make ramen? As the stars began to twinkle over the new world, the campfire was relit. The island was no longer a place of mystery or fear, but a place of new friendship, all thanks to the girl who carried the sun in her heart. The sunny deck of the Thousand Sunny was usually filled with laughter and the smell of delicious snacks, but today a mysterious guest had brought a strange tension to the crew. Naruko, the bright and spirited chef of the Straw Hat Pirates, adjusted her yellow apron and took a deep breath. She had once been a young girl with whiskers on her cheeks and a dream to be a leader, but now her joy was found in feeding her friends and exploring the vast, blue ocean. A spark of courage. Zoro stood at the ready, his wooden training swords held firmly. He wasn't looking for a fight, but he was protective of his nakama. Across from him stood a man in a cloak decorated with soft red clouds. The stranger wasn't using a sword, instead, he held a small, silver tool that caught the sunlight. Naruko, the man said softly, his voice echoing across the deck. You have a light within you that belongs elsewhere. Naruko stepped forward, her golden pigtails bouncing. She didn't look afraid. She remembered the stories of the Akatsuki from her childhood, but she also knew that her place was here, on this ship, with the people who loved her. I'm not going anywhere, Naruko said with a confident grin. I have a cake in the oven and a journey to finish. The dance of light. The mysterious man moved with the grace of a shadow, tossing silken ribbons that shimmered like fire in the air. They weren't meant to hurt, they were like glowing lassos, trying to catch the attention of the crew. Zoro dodged them with a series of acrobatic flips, his green hair a blur of movement. Zoro's agility, he leapt over the glowing strings, making sure his friends stayed clear. Naruko's quick thinking, seeing a ribbon drifting toward the mast, Naruko dashed forward. She used her specialized cooking boots to gently pin the ribbon to the deck. The stranger paused, looking impressed. You have learned much of teamwork, Naruko. It's called friendship. She chirped, crossing her arms. And we share everything here. You can't just take one of us away. An unexpected turn. Suddenly, the air began to swirl like a gentle whirlpool. The man realized he couldn't convince Naruko to leave her happy life through words alone. He raised his hand, and a shimmering portal, swirling like a star-filled night sky, appeared near the navigator's station. Nami blinked in surprise as the colorful light grew brighter. Before anyone could react, the portal began to pull with the strength of a playful summer breeze. Greater than hold on tight, Naruko shouted, reaching out for her friends. Greater than. Luffy, the captain, grabbed Nami's hand to keep her steady, while Brook, the tall musician, stepped in front to shield them with his wide-brimmed hat. However, the magic of the portal was too strong. In a flash of golden light and a soft whoosh, the three of them vanished into the swirling colors. The masked man sighed, the portal closing behind him. If you wish to see them again, Naruko, you must remember who you truly are. Naruko stood on the quiet deck, the smell of her orange blossom cupcake still wafting from the kitchen. She looked at Zoro, her blue eyes sparkling with determination. She wasn't just a chef, she was a girl who never gave up on her friends. Get the sails ready, Zoro, Naruko commanded, her voice bright and brave. We're going to find our friends and bring them home in time for dinner. The swirling darkness didn't last long. Instead of a cold void, Sanji felt a gentle tug, like a breeze pulling at his sleeves, before his boots hit solid, grassy ground. He blinked, squinting against the bright, golden sunlight that bathed a vibrant forest. Beside him, Zoro stumbled slightly, grumbling as he adjusted his swords, while Chopper let out a tiny squeak of relief, clutching Sanji's leg. They were safe, and more importantly, they were together. Where are we? Chopper whispered, his nose twitching as he caught the scent of wildflowers and toasted seeds. Before Sanji could answer, a bright, melodic laugh echoed through the trees. It wasn't the laugh of an enemy, but the sound of someone finding something genuinely wonderful. Stepping out from behind a massive oak tree was a young girl who seemed to radiate energy. She had bright, sun-kissed hair tied into two bouncy pigtails that swayed as she moved. On each of her cheeks were three faint, whisker-like marks that gave her a playful, fox-like appearance. She wore a vibrant orange jacket and a headband with a swirling leaf symbol that glinted in the light. She stopped in her tracks, her wide, ocean-blue eyes sparkling with curiosity as she looked at the tall cook, the moss-haired swordsman, and the small, furry doctor. "Whoa," she exclaimed, her voice full of wonder. "I've never seen a hat like that before. Is that a reindeer in a hat? That is so cool." She bounded forward, stopping just a respectful distance away. She didn't look like a threat, she looked like someone who had just found a new group of friends to play with. "I'm Naruko," she said, giving them a thumbs up and a grin so bright it rivaled the sun. "I was just practicing my hide and seek skills when you guys just appeared. Are you travelers? Do you like ramen? Because I know the absolute best place, and I was just heading there for lunch." Sanji, always the gentleman, bowed slightly, his worry beginning to melt away in the face of her pure enthusiasm. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Naruko. We seem to be a bit far from home." Naruko tilted her head, her pigtails bobbing. She reached into a small pouch at her side and pulled out a handful of colorful, star-shaped crackers, offering them to Chopper. "Don't worry," she said warmly. "Nobody stays lost for long in the village hidden in the leaves. If you're with me, you're a guest. Come on, let's get some food and figure out how to find the rest of your crew. I'm great at finding people." With a skip in her step, Naruko began to lead the way through the forest toward the distant sound of a humming village. Her kindness was infectious, and as the Straw Hats followed their new friend, they realized that while they were in a strange new land, they had found the best possible guide to lead them through it. Dear YouTube family, that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing content. Thank you so much for your support. Regards. Anime Octopus.